hold space for the introvert? And how do you do that well? This was a question that came up for me as I thought about the fact that last week was not a great week for you, girl. I was in an emotional funk and coming out of that, actually, probably the last week and a half, quite honestly, to 2 weeks, it's been a messy time emotionally over here. And as I was in that funk, I noticed because I also started my 75-day friendship challenge last week, Monday. So I was showing up for myself, I was showing up for my friends. Um, Actually, was it last week, Monday? No, week before, because last week was week two. So this is also doubling as a week two report, y'all. But yeah, I started my friendship challenge week before last week, Monday. So that was week one. Last week was week two. I'm heading into week three now. And so I had spent a whole week being very vocal and intentional and putting energy into and outputting and expending energy into my friendships. And then last week, I was in a funk and your girl didn't want to do that. Now, I still did show up because I follow through even when I don't feel like it, because that's what we do around here when we make a commitment to ourselves. I have thankfully been really working that muscle this year, and I am grateful that I do that now. But yeah, I didn't want to. I was not here for it. And so once I had checked the boxes and done the things for the day, that was it. I didn't want to engage with anyone else. And so people would reach out to me, hoping to connect with me, and me not being in the mood to talk. And I could kind of tell that they were not sure how to handle that, primarily because they were concerned about me. And I'm mostly talking about my extrovert friends now. And they were concerned about me, but the way that they process information and the way that they work through their stuff is to go to someone to be a safe space for them, right? They want to talk it out with somebody. They want to vent. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. But as an introvert, I don't usually process with people. And when I shut down, that's it. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I care deeply about you, but I don't have it right now. And I'm on empty. And so for me to output in explaining how I'm feeling and processing my emotional ish with you in that moment is not I don't have bandwidth for it. And so as I was noticing this happen, um, with my loved ones, where they were concerned about me, but not really like knowing how to address it or what to do to get me to talk, feeling disconnected from me, feeling not really a part of my life, wondering what was wrong with me, wondering if I was okay. And me not reciprocating any of that energy because again, I didn't have it. I was in a funk the last week and a half, and I was like, yeah, how would one do this well? And I figured it would be the best way to approach this conversation would be for me as an introvert to kind of share what I need in that moment and where I'm at in that moment. So um I had a conversation with my mom about this actually, because she was one of these people who was seeing me in this kind of funky place emotionally and feeling disconnected and not sure how to approach it or what to do about it, because she wants me to talk to her. She wants to be a safe space for me. She wants to make space for me to share myself and where I am. But I don't want to share because to me, that's energy expenditure. Sharing in that moment is not um, doing anything for me. It's actually taking from me. And not that is not a bad thing if I have something in the cup to give. But if I have nothing, then I actually I don't have anything to give you, even to share myself, right? Like even if the goal is sharing where I'm at and sharing myself with you, I actually don't even have bandwidth to do that. And it's a lot easier for me to go lock my door, take a nap, wake back up, journal, or, read a book, watch TV, avoid my emotional spiral, give it a few days, and then come back and be like, okay, I'm ready to process this now. And actually have emotional bandwidth and space to then process it with myself. And then I can share what's been going on with me. But like that timeline is not a couple hours. It's not a wake up tomorrow and she feels better. It is we're taking some time here because like this emotion, even the fact that I'm emotionally spiraling, the fact that I'm on this roller coaster is it can end up being doubly emotionally taxing because you feel the spiral of the funk, right? You feel that the sadness, the frustration, the disappointment, whatever it is, you feel the spiral of the funk. And this might also apply to those of us who have severe anxiety or those of us who have like PMDD and get like premenstrual depressive states, if you will. It could also apply to those of us who've been diagnosed with depression before. And so we know we get into these spirals, right? And there's the emotional sort of drainage of that and how it just sucks all of the emotional bandwidth from us to be like spiraling at exponential speeds down this emotional slope. But in addition to that, it's also how we feel about that spiral. Because we don't want to be spiraling. So we're spiraling and then feeling not great about spiraling, but also low-key feeling like, well, we're already here, so let's just keep going. Just like sliding down the hill. And I have thankfully gotten to a place in my emotional journey where I don't end up even if I end up at the precipice of a kind of depression, I haven't slipped back into that. And I know that is a privilege because not everyone has that as their experience, who has been diagnosed with depression in the past. Um, that being said, it's not like you don't want to spiral, but then you're there and then it's like, well, what's the use of coming out of it? And so you're spiraling some more and it's just the whole thing is just emotionally taxing. And if you're the flavor of introvert that I am, if you've had any of these emotional and mental health wrestles in the past, you know what I'm talking about when I say I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to touch it. I want to give it room to run its course, get some distance from it emotionally so that I can then come back to it with some perspective, with some real like with some truth, right? As I know it. Because in that moment, I have zero access to that. And I have zero space to hear it from anyone else, to even explain where I'm at, to have feedback and encouragement. It's just not, I don't have it. And so I was like, well, I explained all of that to my mom. It was one of those days where I wasn't spiraling as rapidly. So I had a little bit of bandwidth to explain, hey, I'm not okay. Uh, and I don't want to talk about it. And And then I kind of saw the look on her face. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to explain this. And so I went on to explain that I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to touch it. I don't want to like be in it. I just want to turn it off. And I don't have bandwidth to share with you all of the details of everything that's happening in my heart right now because it's a lot. And I haven't even processed it yet. And I don't have space, I don't have bandwidth to process it with you as much as you would want to be a space for me. And so when you see me like this, that's more than likely what is happening. And she shared how she understood. But then I think I could still see on her face that like it sucked. It sucked for her. And I think because she's my mother and I care about her and I love her, I did kind of step into like, well, let me try and make it better kind of a feeling. But I think also because my goal with my relationships, friendships, because my mother is my friend, I do have a very strong friendship with my mother, even though she's my mom. um, I think one of the things that I am endeavoring to do always is move toward connection in my friendships. And so I'd had a little bit of extra bandwidth that day. And I was like, all right, look, here's what I will do. Actually, she asked me, she said, Chelsea, when you are feeling that way, can you just tell me? Can you be like, I'm not okay? And I'm like, honestly, mommy, half the time I don't even want to say anything. So here's what I'll do. And we came to a compromise. Here's what I told her I would do. Anytime I come to you and just put my hand on my shoulder on your shoulder like this, just like drop my hand on your shoulder and look at you, you'll know exactly what's going on. And then I'll walk away and I'll leave it right there. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do anything. I can just do that action because an action is not taxing for me to do because I'm not trying to like think through how I feel. I'm not touching the spiral at all. It's not, I could just touch your shoulder and and I can move on. um, and one when I said that, she was like, oh my gosh, yes, okay. And I was like, whoa. That's an intense response. And I think I said something along the lines of, I it seems like I don't even remember what I said, but basically, we went back and forth a little bit on that reaction, on that sense of like she's feeling really relieved and or grateful that there was something that I could do to share where I was at with her in that moment. And I think where we landed was that um she wanted to feel connected to me. But as my mother is, she is an extrovert through and through. She would like you to come and talk to her. And that is her most natural, intuitive way of connecting with you. Sitting down and talking or working on something together, like and talking about our lives, answering questions, etc. That kind of verbal connection is very powerful for her. And I'm sure most extroverts could say the same. Like y'all share verbally. You share with people. You want people around you. You want people connected to you and to feel connected to people. Um, and I don't think that's an exclusively extroverted trait. I think introverts also want to feel connected to people and in community. But when we are up to here, we don't actually have um I don't think we have emotional bandwidth to be good community members and to prioritize connection in the ways that extroverts naturally receive it. And because for those of us who have been the safe space, who have been the listener, who is usually the extroverts, or rather the introverts in the room, right? We've been the safe space for people. And so, especially for our extrovert loved ones, they come to us um and we've developed this sort of dynamic of I listen, I am the safe space for you. And if you have a reciprocal relationship and a healthy relationship, then The introvert also gets space to share in that moment. Um, but that is not their most intuitive uh way of being. It's not like verbally communicating and over processing and sharing and like that's not naturally, I think, what we do. Not that we can't do it and not that we can't feel comfortable doing it, because one-on-one is a lot like it's perfect for introverts. Um, but it's just not the easiest thing to always slip into, especially when we get up to here emotionally. Because by that point, it's like it's the social battery, but that battery is no longer exclusively for social situations. It's been hijacked by like the emotional villain of the story, whatever that emotion is, whether it's disappointment, frustration, anger, sadness, or anxiety, or a combination of all of them. Like it's a heist. It's a full-on heist. The battery that normally goes for social activities has been, and relationships, expenditure of energy in relationships has been hijacked. And we are now fully on the roller coaster spiral down the emotional drain. And at that point, we just don't have it to prioritize connection in the way that you all receive connection well. And so I think it was really helpful, and I'm grateful that I had a little bit of bandwidth to sit with this with my mom, for me to come up with a way to communicate with her where I was at so she could still feel connected and I could feel somewhat supported, even though that support mattered less to me in that moment. Um, because in those like funks, you're like this. You're belly button watching. You're just like unfortunately the self-absorption is real. And if it's not self-absorption, it's like a personal escapism where you create your own fantasy. At least for me, let me speak for myself. It's a personal escapism where I end up like reading and watching TV and just immersing myself in other stories, whether like usually fantasy ones, or sci-fi ones, or like whatever genre, just immersing myself in other stories, not my own, so that I can get a little distance from how I'm feeling, so that I can then go process it with myself. I'm not trying to like being with people, though it matters to me that you are in my life, is not the most supportive thing for me in that moment. And so if I come to you and place my hand on your shoulder like that and let you know, hey, I'm okay, that connection is more, or I'm not okay in this instance, that connection is more serving you than me in that moment. But because I want to prioritize connection with you, even when I'm a mess, I still want you to. It's not that I don't want you to know what I'm feeling. It's that I don't have bandwidth to communicate it. And so we needed to come up with another way for me to say it. And I'm grateful that in the moment this occurred to me. Nonverbal communication. We both know what it means now. Moving on. So yeah, it was an interesting moment for me to have that with my mother, and reflecting on it and thinking about what that means for other folks who might want to hold space for introverts like myself, in moments where we don't have a ton of bandwidth to prioritize connection in the ways that you are used to, connection being prioritized in our relationship. You are used to verbal communication. You are used to a ton of like quality time spent together, being in one another's presence or on the phone or whatever. Like, we're not trying to do that. In those moments when we're up to here, we don't have it. We don't have it to do that. But I don't think we don't want to communicate. It's just that we don't have it to communicate in the ways that you would hear us typically. And so finding a sort of third space, a middle ground where we are communicating non-verbally. We're not like saying everything that we're feeling. We're not communicating everything that's going on. It's just a simple, hey, see me? There's something going on. And whatever that gesture looks like between you and your loved ones, whether you are an introvert who would be giving that, or an extrovert who would be receiving it, or an ambivert who's in the middle of those two, whatever that looks like for you, right? Um, yeah, I think it was a really um connected moment in our relationship, and I would hope that for y'all extroverts in the room who are trying to figure out how you make space for introverts in your life when you see them pulling away, because y'all are used to, again, y'all, for the way that you all communicate and the way that you all create connection is verbally, is with presence. um and for introverts, we need that presence turned to ourselves, and we need to communicate with ourselves first before we communicate with y'all. And depending on the flavor of introvert that you have in your life, we might not be fully ready to communicate with ourselves yet. We might need some time. And it took me like a week and a half to get back to any kind of semblance of, okay, we're back up the hill now. Thankfully, it was not a slog up the hill. The Holy Spirit teleported me. We're okay. We're in a much better place now. Literally, it was like we were at the bottom of this valley. Shadow of death. Hello, shadows of death. Hi. And the Holy Spirit was just like, oh, now we're okay. So praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Thank you, Jesus. Um, but yeah, it's just, it's really, I'm grateful that I had this moment with my mom, and I hope that for any of you, you can develop a similar kind of middle ground, a similar kind of touch point. If connection is something that you want to prioritize in that moment, right? Like if you're saying, I want to prioritize connection in my relationships, and as an extrovert, I don't know how to make space well for the introverts in my life when they are processing, when they are walking through something, when they're in a funk and they don't want to talk to me because they don't have it to talk to me. But I still want to let them know that I'm there for them. And I still want to know that they know I'm there for them. I want to feel connected to them in that moment. Um, Maybe you can find a middle ground like this. I'm curious as to if you have any ideas about what that could look like. So feel free to drop those in the comments below. And if you are an extrovert, have you ever felt this way before? This kind of like disconnection with the introverts in your life, in the moments where you know something is not right, but they're not talking to you about it. And you're not sure what to do because you want to help and you want to hear from them. You want to know what's going on, but it's very obvious that they don't want to talk about it. If you felt that way before, and what has that looked like for you? Have you found any middle grounds that work with that loved one in your life? And then for those of us who are introverts, whatever flavor you are, anxiety, depression, like whatever, whatever mental health history you have, or if you have none and like you just resonated with anything I was sharing, I'd be curious to hear, like, if you kind of employ a similar type of um, gesture, nonverbal communication, or if that's something that you have thought of but haven't actioned. I'm curious as to what you're thinking that would look like. And if it's not something that you've ever done, but you're wanting to think about doing, let's brainstorm some ideas in the comments. I just realized I didn't give my week 2 friend update. So before I end the video, let me say this. Yeah, y'all, I was in a funk for the last week and a half. So week 2 was, I still showed up. And I still was messaging people, still was checking in on people, still was doing the things that I said I would do. I wasn't showing as much verbal appreciation. So I fell off on that daily activity. But I did also call people. I sent voice notes. I checked off my 2 weekly activities. I still haven't planned or done my activity for the month yet. So that's not great. Um, and the technically, I mean, we have 2 more weeks because there's this week 3, and then there's next week. So I still need to actually choose what that is. I think it's going to be a one-on-one with one of my friends. But I still need to like actually plan and implement it. So yeah. Week 2, less than stellar, less than week 1, but we are still making forward progress. We are still moving forward and still feeling grateful and connected in my friendships. I spent actually one thing that I can shout out myself for and be grateful for is the fact that I connected with a couple of people again who I haven't spoken to in a while. I mean years. Actually semi-regularly sending WhatsApp messages now, like every other day. Even if it's just reacting to WhatsApp statuses, like that kind of thing is I feel good about the fact that I am expending energy towards the people I care about in that way. And I feel grateful to myself to have followed through regardless of how I felt, because of the fact that I wanted to show these people that they still matter to me. I still care about them. Um, that felt really good. That felt really good. So yeah, less than week 1, but still making progress. Still moving forward, I think. And we are on to week 3 out of the funk. So hopefully this week will be an even better week. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for joining me for this video. If you are interested in this 75-day challenge at all, I'm going to drop the link in the description box below so you can go ahead and check that out and learn more about like exactly how this works. I'll also probably leave a video somewhere up here. And feel free to subscribe, because these are the kinds of conversations that we have about friendship on this channel. So if you want more of those, I'm going to drop some of those videos in the description box as well. And you can go ahead and watch those to your heart's content. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I will see you in the next one. Take care.